Hey guys, this is Hydra from Xtrades back with another video, and in this video we're going to go over how to properly bottom fish stocks. And when I say bottom fish, I'm basically referring to how to basically catch the bottom of stocks, of individual names. And yeah, so let's get into it, right? So this is a topic that I have covered before called stage analysis, right? So if you haven't watched this video before, I would highly recommend you go back, watch the stage analysis video first, and then come back to this. But I'll just recap stage analysis really quick in a minute here, right? So stage analysis is you have four stages, right? So a stock has stage one. Stage one is when you form a base, right? So this is all stage one, right? And then stage two is when you break out of this base, right? So we're breaking out of this base, we get a nice breakout. In stage two, you have a very strong uptrend, right? A stock in 2x, 3x, 4x, right? And then stage three is when you start forming another base, right? But this time you're kind of topping out, right? So this is stage three. And then stage four is the big decline, right? And then you have a very nasty flush, and then yeah, you basically have a very big correction, right? So this is, to recap, this is stage four, stage three, right? Stage two is the big breakout, and stage one is the initial base. So that's pretty much a good recap of stage analysis, right? And let's go through a couple examples of um, stage analysis at work. So a good one I like to refer to is Snapchat, right? So this one had a very nice stage breakout over here, or stage two breakout over here, right? So this was all stage one, right? We were forming a base for almost a year and a half, or almost 2 years, right? And then we finally broke out here, right? So this is where we entered stage two, right? So this entire area is all stage two. And then stage three, we kind of like topped out, right? We formed the base here, and then we got a big nasty flush candle on that week, right? So after that, that's kind of stage four, right? And now Snapchat is back in stage one. This has been forming a base for almost 2 years now again, or over 2 years actually. So yeah, just to recap again, stage one is the initial base. Stage two is the uptrend, right? So this one went from 21 to 83, so 4x, right? And then stage three is the topping out. Stage four is the big decline, right? So that's stage analysis. And when you're bottom fishing stocks, right, the best way to bottom fish stocks. So for example, Snapchat again, this is back in stage one, right? So here's the new base. Right, so this is the new base. And the way you want to bottom fish stocks is not necessarily by catching the absolute bottom. You want to bottom fish stocks by waiting for them to break back into stage two, right? So again, now this is forming stage one. So once it breaks stage two, so once it breaks that 17.67 level, this could be a good bottom fish play. And yeah, this is a little bit misleading because you're not actually bottom fishing, you're not catching the absolute bottom. But when you're buying over here, you're basically getting the best odds on your money, right? This is the best risk reward setup here. This is the highest probability trade, right? Because again, once we break the 17.6 level, once we break stage one, we have the potential to make a 4x move like last time, right? I'm not saying it could happen or that's going to happen, but I'm just saying Snapchat has that potential again, right? And this is in general for any stock. When you break that stage one uptrend, you are basically, and you're entering stage two, you basically have a lot of upside potential. And these are where the best risk reward setups will come from. So yeah, when I refer to bottom fishing stocks, this is what I mean, right? I want to wait for that new base to form, and when that base breaks, then is when you should be buying. So yeah, that's essentially how I bottom fish stocks, and it's a really good strategy again in terms of risk reward ratio, right? So let's go through a couple examples. So this is app back in, well, so this is app. This is one of the biggest winners that we have had in 2024, right? Huge winner. It went from $9 to $5.25. So absolutely insane rally. So this one started out in a very decent uptrend when it first IPO'd, and then here we pretty much had a pretty nasty correction, right? We went from 116 to $9, right? And then here we kind of started forming a base here, right? Now there's multiple rejections, right? So this is kind of the big base that app formed. And then here is when we enter stage 2, right? Now we are entering an actual uptrend once we break that level, right? So that's when you want to be paying very, very close attention to this name, right? So technically, even though the low was $9, the high probability trade and the best time to be buying this is at that 45 level when we break stage 1. And yeah, this is exactly again how I bottom fish, right? I don't want to wait for stocks to go as low as possible, just because you never know how low a stock can go, right? It's very possible this could have gone to $3 or even lower, right? And that would have been a pretty big decline, even though it already declined so much. But when you're waiting for confirmation, when you're waiting for money to flow back into a name, right, you're setting yourself up for a huge risk reward and big potential, right, and relatively low risk. So again, this one went from 45 to 525, right? So the potential was insane, right? This had, like, let's see how much percent. 1,000%, right? So absolutely insane. If you're wrong like 100 times, but you just catch one name like this, right, that's going to make your year. But yeah, that's basically the concept of how I bottom fish stocks. We'll just go through a couple more examples maybe. So Palantir, this is another one, right? Very similar to App. This one had a very strong IPO, right? And then it kind of topped out, and then it went from what, $30 to $5, right? Big decline. And then here it kind of formed like a stage 1 base. I would say the stage 1 base is first probably over here, to be honest. All right, this is, I would call all of this stage 1, and then we had a huge breakout, huge volume increase in volume, right? So I would say this is where stage 2 really started, around that $20 level when we broke that. And then from there, Palantir pretty much took off like a rocket, right? 20 to 125. So insane rally, 530% move. So pretty insane again, right? So this is another example where, again, you don't want to try to be bottom fishing the low points, right? You want to be waiting for confirmation. You want for it to break back above again and then break out, right? Because if you try to catch the bottom, sometimes you'll catch names like Snapchat, where this name is again looking like it wants to make new lows again, right? So yeah, a lot of people tried to buy the dip on Snapchat and then ended up their money just ended up going nowhere, right? Because again, Snapchat's back had its lows, and this one can actually end up breaking lower, right? Who knows? The stock can go back to like $4 or even lower. So always have to think risk first, right? And instead of trying to get the very bottom, wait for that confirmation, wait for that stage 1 breakout, and then buy the name. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM me on Discord. Yeah, thanks.